as long as I worked in their investments in the property known as Garland.
Communicate with me. Now I can finally reveal the identity of my killer. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm heard of Utopia?
Yeah, that's the capital of Israel, right?
Starting. Hi, Chris and Ryan Wilkins here from 3Piece Speech Studio.
This blanket and this piece of paper.
To talk to you all today about dramatic structure.
Dramatic structure!
English class recap!
5 parts of the dramatic structure are exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution.
Consider yourself learned.
Most of you have probably seen the dramatic structure drawn like this.
We like to call this the mountain of ineffective forensics. See, if you base your cutting entirely off this structure, then time-wise, your piece will climax at about 5 minutes, have roughly 4.5 minutes of falling action, and then 30 seconds or so of resolution.
Your judge will probably fall asleep somewhere around here. Since this doesn't work for interp,
We drew a modified version. We like to call this the stegosaurus version.
like the dinosaur.
There are 4 reasons why this version is better.
And this version is both boring and lame.
The first reason this one is better is because it is constantly building.
The second reason it's better is it has various levels in its build.
The third reason it's better is because it has a very defined climax, and time-wise comes at about 8.5 to 9 minutes.
The final reason it's better is because at the very end we've drawn this arrow to show that you should go back to the beginning of your piece and be full circle.
The first important point in establishing the structure for your cutting is that it should build. Throughout your entire piece, it should constantly have this building suspense and tension that goes throughout the entire piece, building towards the climax.
Notice for a build to work, you have to start lower so you can get higher.
The build can be applied to more than just the plot of your piece, though.
It should be applied to the amount of tech you do, your character development, your emotions, your volume.
In essence, a build can be applied to all aspects of your piece.
The build is what creates interest for your audience, because as everything escalates and tensions increase, we become more intrigued as to what's going to happen.
If you don't have the build, we lose this sense of interest. Say your piece starts out really tense, and then it just stays really tense. As an audience member, that gets boring, because we've seen really tense, and it stays really tense. Nothing different is happening. It has nowhere to go. And so as we're watching it, we start to get bored, and we can't connect with it as well.
And we fall asleep.
Point number 2.
Levels.
Now, just because your piece has a build doesn't mean that it starts normal and then gets gradually more tense towards the point of your climax. Just like the model shows, it's important that you have levels. That even though it's building to this high point, there are highs and lows you experience throughout the piece.
Just like the build, levels can be applied to every aspect of your piece.
Sometimes you should be quiet. And sometimes you should be loud.
Our dreams that you dare to dream.
Sometimes you should go slow.
And sometimes you need to go very fast.
Sometimes you should be sad. And sometimes you should be mad.
And sometimes you should be happy.
Having different levels not only helps show a full range of your performance, but it also creates interest by showing us something different.
It's especially important in character development. For example, imagine a character who is sad, then stays sad, and ends sad.
It's boring. It's not interesting.
We don't care. You're sad. We've seen sad. Why are you sad? I don't care.
I lose interest.
But take perhaps a character who is happy, and then he becomes sad. And then he's very angry, and then he's very hurt. But then he's okay with it.
Why is this so interesting?
Because different things are happening. If you have varying levels, you create intrigue for your audience and also increase the tension.
And when you have the tension from the different level and combine it with the tension from the build, you think about them together, it creates this rising suspense and this tension and these emotions that all build to the climax!
Point number 3,
the climax.
this is the most important part of your piece.
Let me say that again. The most important part of your piece. The climax!
Everything that has been happening in your piece for the past 8.5 minutes has all been adding up to this one small chunk of your performance.
Your climax has the most emotion, it has the most tension. In many situations, it has the most volume out of any other point in your piece.
Dare to dream!
Nothing up till that point should outshine your climax.
All the intrigue and tension that you've created using the build and your levels have amounted to this one point. The reason we've been watching your entire piece is to get to the climax. Not to say that the other stuff isn't important, it's important because you use it to get us to the climax. If you've done all that, then you have followed the dramatic structure up unto our added fourth point of this little arrow.
The fourth point of an effective cut, we believe that your piece should end where it starts.
This is important because as an audience, we have a feeling of completion. You start somewhere, bring us on a journey, and then you come back to where we've started. We know that your piece is going to end, and we have a feeling of wholeness.
Also, if you end where you began, we have this retrospect of what happened, and we can better comprehend what happened throughout the entire piece.
That's not to say that the lines in the beginning should be the exact same as the lines in the end.
It just means if you start your piece talking about your friend, you should end your piece talking about your friend. Or if you start your piece singing a song, you should end your piece singing another song.
It's also as simple as starting with one attitude and ending in a similar attitude.
So, when you're cutting a piece, if you do all four of these things together from the beginning, if you have this build that works together with these levels that builds towards the climax, and then think about ending your piece the same way you start, if you do them all from the beginning, then when you start blocking and when you start performing your piece, you will already have these effective components built into your piece, and it will only help you in the long run.
Following this structure is the most effective way to have an intriguing, dynamic, and engaging performance for your audience.
If you're having any trouble with cutting a piece, you can always go to 3piecespeech.com and sign up with a coach and get help.
And also, we'll try to get our next video coming out quicker than this one was.